Harry,
I just said I could sit
there's
on the bus.
there's Richard, there's Patsy, there's Teresa, and there's me. I think it's showing my face. Is it showing my face? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that good enough?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, go.
Okay. So I did my last speech on the cost of college tuition and why it's extremely high and hard for students to go to the college. The attention step is, college is looked at as a successful way to better your career and better your, your family. You want to go and you want to make money. You want to have a good job to help your family out. But it's too expensive for anybody to really afford to. You almost always have to take out student loans, and you're always going to have to be in debt. And it's a real financial burden on your family a lot of the time if they try to help you out. So my goal for this is to get people on my side and to get the government on our side to kind of decrease the amount of how much college tuition is, and to try to see that like it's a real burden to families, and try to just get people to understand the more emotional side to it. The first step is tuition should be lower to, because when you're straight out of high school, people say like you need to go to college, you need to have a career, but it's hard because it's a lot of money. We need to fight to get tuition lowered, because if we don't, not many people will have the opportunity to get higher education. Just straight out of high school with a diploma, there's not a lot you can do today. You have to at least do some college. And a lot of people can't do that because it's due to extreme costs like room and board. That's a big chunk of it. College expenses like food, and if you're living in a dorm, classes are out of the roof expensive because you're paying for higher, more well-known professors at a lot of big universities. I read an article from the Business Insider where Hillary Hoffbauer, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, did an article about how from the 1980s to 2018, college tuition has way more than tripled, 213%. So it's very expensive to go to college. So think of it like maybe in the 80s it was maybe like between 10 and 15 grand to go every year. Now it's way more than that. It's 213 for a public university, so that's saying Sacramento State, UC Merced, UC Berkeley. But for private institutions like Harvard, Stanford, Ivy Leagues like UPenn or NYU, it's 129. But those have always been really expensive.
$129,000 a year.
About that, yeah.
Wow.
And so over 39 years, it's tripled in price, way more than tripled in price. And, it makes it extremely hard for people to go up in higher education because of the cost. I read a second article by The Atlantic by Amanda Pipely where for one family to send one student to school in 2019 is $30,000 a year.
Whoa.
And that's just for one student. So if you have multiple kids going at the same time, you're out $100,000 easily in just 1 year. So that's twice as much as other countries like Europe, and I think Germany have free college. So, and the United States is supposed to be the richest country in the world, but obviously it's not.
It's not.
Yeah. So if you calculate $30,000 a year, that's $120,000 after 4 years, which is why most people end up in student debt because they can't afford it and they're already working 2 to 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And that's living off campus and on campus,
And that's just for their first degree, depending on where they're going.
That's just for the bachelor's degree, and then you can go on to a master's degree if that's what you want.
Yeah.
I believe that in order to, diminish how much college debt there is, we need to protest and petition the government to understand that it's a really bad financial burden on families, and especially students. Like myself, I'm in community college, so I don't pay as much, but I know that when I do transfer, I'm going to be paying a lot, and I'm not looking forward to that. News stations have already started talking about how California is starting to diminish more of the cost of school. UC Berkeley has diminished their tuition costs. Sacramento State and UC Davis, UC Berkeley, or UC Merced have all diminished, but it's still very expensive to go. You just have to imagine you're in a world where your kids or your grandkids want to go to college and they apply and they get in and they see how much money they're going to have to spend just on a down payment to secure their spot. And that's not talking about room and board, or that's not talking about the food that they have to eat, the supplies they need to buy, the classes that they have to pay for, books, everything. But, imagine a world where, you don't have a lot of student loans. It's not as costly. Your kids and grandparents will enjoy their college experience more, not having to worry about the financial burden that they take on. They'll have more focus with their classes and not how they're just going to pay for their rent. They'll enjoy it more, and at the end of the 4 years, they'll get a degree in what they're really passionate for. But if we don't get this under control, it's going to put more financial burdens on people. There's a lower chance that people will get degrees because they'll just drop out due to the financial burden. They risk their higher education because they can't afford it, and it's just too much of a burden to leave their families in such a financial estate. And in conclusion, you want to make it fair for everybody, and at this point right now it's not. And hopefully, if we petition and we protest the government to diminish it and look at the family burdens, then, we'll be able to have more people actually be able to afford to go to college and live the so-called American dream that they are told about in high school.
Oh.
Okay, so I can